In a joint televised appearance from Buckingham Palace, Prince William, Princess Anne, and the Duchess of Edinburgh have officially confirmed that the divorce settlement between Prince Harry and Meghan Markle is now legally binding. Effective as of 23:59 GMT on the 28th of February 2026, the decree marks the end of a 6-year union and the commencement of what the palace terms irreversible institutional consequences. Reports from Montecito indicate that Meghan Markle has been blindsided by the severity of the legal trap set by the British Crown. While the Duchess had anticipated a standard high-profile separation, she is now facing a total systemic exclusion that she did not foresee. The Crown's strategy, orchestrated by Princess Anne and enforced by the Prince of Wales, has effectively stripped Meghan of every instrument of power she previously utilized to build her global brand. The most significant and immediate loss for Meghan Markle is the total termination of her diplomatic access and the use of royal styling. This shield was the primary engine of her influence, as demonstrated during her mid-February trip to Jordan. During that visit, Meghan leveraged her title as Duchess of Sussex to exert pressure on the British Embassy for logistics and state-level reception. Under the new sovereign decree issued by King Charles III, permanent loss of HRH and title suspension, Meghan is permanently barred from using the style Her Royal Highness, HRH. The title Duchess of Sussex has been formally frozen. In any legal or international context, she is now recognized solely as a private citizen. Termination of diplomatic protocol. As of March 1, international bodies including the World Health Organization, WHO, and the United Nations, as well as foreign heads of state such as King Abdullah II and Queen Rania of Jordan, have been officially notified that Meghan Markle no longer carries any royal mandate. She will no longer be received with the ceremonial protocols reserved for members of the British royal family. Meghan's financial stability, once anchored by the Sussex brand, is in a state of freefall. The divorce has triggered a series of catastrophic commercial retreats. The Netflix and Spotify crisis. Executive sources at both streaming giants have reportedly held emergency meetings today. A Netflix internal memo leaked to the press states, "Our contract was with a duchess possessing royal leverage, not a private individual blacklisted by her own family and allied nations like Jordan. The brand value is in terminal decline. The $134,000 tax debt. Public records in Santa Barbara County reveal that the Montecito residence is facing a tax lien of $134,000. Without the subsidies or the joint credit profile of Prince Harry, Meghan is now solely responsible for the massive overhead of her lifestyle, an overhead that her current liquid assets cannot sustain. The elite withdrawal. The most devastating blow to Meghan's social standing is the strategic silence from former allies Oprah Winfrey and Gayle King. Insider reports suggest Oprah is exhausted by the repetitive Sussex narratives, particularly the staged Diana-esque imagery utilized in Jordan. Gayle King has reportedly refused to cover the Jordan trip to preserve her network's relationship with Prince William, whose approval rating currently stands at a dominant 84%. In a stunning legal maneuver, the Royal Court of Chancery has successfully voided a 2018 prenuptial clause that the Crown was previously unaware of. This Clause 7 had granted Meghan total intellectual property rights over Harry's likeness, voice, and memoirs. The court ruled that the clause was obtained through undue influence and non-disclosure to the sovereign. Consequently, Harry's voice reclaimed. Harry is no longer a commercial asset managed by Meghan's office. All future proceeds from his memoirs or media appearances are now decoupled from Meghan's commercial entities. The Lighthouse Project halted. Meghan's attempts to monetize the likeness of her children for her proposed media projects, such as Lily and the Lighthouse, have been met with a permanent injunction. The cultural shift against Meghan was solidified by a viral social media post from actor Ryan Reynolds. The Deadpool star issued a thinly veiled critique of staged international tours used to sell wellness supplements, a direct reference to Meghan's recent activities in Jordan. For the first time, Meghan is being viewed by the Hollywood elite not as a victim of the institution, but as a target of satire. The A-list in California is moving to a safe distance policy to avoid the reputational contagion of the collapsing Sussex brand. King Charles III has transitioned from a soft-hearted father to a resolute monarch. The disciplinary doctrine now in effect ensures that the palace will no longer issue corrections or defenses for Meghan against negative press. By the 1st of March 2026, the Windsor firewall is fully operational. Meghan Markle stands alone, facing mounting debt, legal isolation, and the loss of the very children she attempted to use as branding tools. The 94-page settlement is not just a divorce. It is the institutional erasure of the Sussex influence from the global stage. Within the 94-page divorce settlement confirmed today, the most devastating blow to Meghan Markle's long-term strategic leverage is the formal activation of the Royal Matron's Protocol, the Windsor Guardianship. This legal mechanism, dormant for decades, has effectively stripped Meghan of her primary role as the sole decision-maker for Archie Harrison and Lilibet Diana. By 9 GMT, the palace confirmed that the children's welfare, education, and global representation are now under the direct jurisdiction of Catherine, Princess of Wales, and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh. While the California courts typically favor joint custody, the sovereign's prerogative in British constitutional law, specifically regarding minors in the line of succession, has taken precedence. The settlement outlines a dual jurisdiction welfare framework that Meghan Markle reportedly signed under extreme financial and legal duress. Loss of decisive authority. Meghan Markle no longer holds the final say on critical life path decisions. This includes their place of residence, the curriculum of their schooling, and their medical providers. All such matters must now be cleared through the Office of the Royal Matrons. The residential mandate. A clause in the settlement requires the children to spend a mandated minimum of 180 days per year within the United Kingdom or under the supervision of the royal matrons during international engagements. This effectively ends Meghan's ability to use the children as Montecito fixtures for her California-based media projects. The Crown's legal team, led by the Lord Chancellor's office, identified Meghan's intent to integrate her children. Evidence presented in the Dossier suggested that Lilibet's image had already been licensed for early-stage conceptual art for a lifestyle brand titled Lily and the Lighthouse. To neutralize this, the March 1st decree enforces a total commercial blackout. Likeness licensing ban. Meghan is strictly prohibited from using the names, voices, or visual renderings of Archie and Lilibet in any monetized broadcast, merchandise, or social media content. The cookbook injunction. Specific mention was made of an upcoming lifestyle project. Meghan is barred from featuring the children in any domestic-themed commercial ventures, such as cooking shows or children's literature, aimed at humanizing her brand through her role as a mother. Punitive clawbacks. Any breach of this clause will trigger an immediate sovereign fine, which the palace has the right to deduct from any residual settlement funds or place as a lien against Meghan's remaining U.S. properties. The appointment of the Princess of Wales as a royal matron is a calculated move to contrast Meghan's calculated branding with Catherine's institutional stability. Catherine now serves as the symbolic and legal shield for the children's royal identity. On the morning of March 1st, Catherine was observed at a pediatric center in London, notably wearing the Windsor protection brooch, a clear signal to the global community that the Crown has successfully reclaimed its youngest members. The public perception has shifted. Meghan is no longer seen as the protector of her children against an oppressive institution, but as the party from whom the children required protection to prevent their transformation into intellectual property. The legal basis for this custodial shift was the immediate custodial breach documented by Princess Anne. The dossier revealed that Meghan had unilaterally dissolved a £6.3 million education trust in the UK to cover her mounting PR retainers and legal fees in early 2026. This act of fiduciary negligence was the final straw for King Charles III. By March 1, the children have been officially derogalized from Meghan's personal brand. Their names were removed from the official Sussex media channels and reintegrated into the secured genealogical vault at Sandringham. The 28th of February marks the day Meghan Markle lost her most valuable narrative assets. She is now a mother without the power to monetize her children, and a royal figure without a royal family. As the palace legal team stated, the Crown stands as the ultimate guarantor of dignity. The children are no longer tools for a commercial empire. As the 94-page divorce settlement transitioned from a legal draft to a binding sovereign decree at midnight, the financial foundation of Meghan Markle's lifestyle has undergone a catastrophic collapse. The Sussex brand, once valued at over $100 million in potential earnings, has been officially declared toxic by the very Hollywood elite who once championed it. By 10 a.m. PST today, forensic accountants and industry analysts confirmed that Meghan's transition from a royal duchess to a private individual in litigation has triggered a sequence of financial foreclosures she did not anticipate. While the leaked $134,000 property tax debt in Santa Barbara County served as the first public crack in the facade, the reality revealed in the March 1st financial audit is far grimmer. Without the joint credit profile of Prince Harry, whose assets are now shielded by the Duchy of Cornwall and the Crown Estate, Meghan is facing the full weight of a distressed celebrity portfolio. The bridge loan crisis. In mid-2025, a $9.4 million bridge loan was secured against the Montecito property to fund the Sussex global media expansion. With the divorce finalized and Harry's sovereign guarantee removed, the Manhattan-based lenders have refused to roll over the debt. The property is now in active foreclosure status. The repayment of institutional funds. A ruthless clause in the settlement reclassifies prior royal subsidies, including the £2.4 million Frogmore Cottage refurbishment and specific security retainers since 2020 as misappropriated funds subject to immediate repayment or offset against Meghan's remaining liquid assets. The most profound loss for Meghan is not the cash, but the reputational capital provided by her A-list associations. The March 1st declaration has formalized a safe distance policy among the California elite. Oprah Winfrey and Gayle King's strategic silence. Once the architects of the Sussex narrative, both media moguls have issued zero statements following the divorce confirmation. Sources close to Harpo Productions indicate that Oprah feels narrative fatigue and is unwilling to risk her standing with the British state, especially as Prince William's global influence reaches an all-time high. The Variety Report. The industry Bible Variety published a scathing analysis this morning titled "The Price of a Faux Royal: Why Hollywood is Unsubscribing from Meghan Markle." The report highlights that major talent agencies are quietly deprioritizing Meghan's upcoming projects, viewing her as reputationally radioactive due to the King's administrative blacklist. The Tyler Perry pivot. Even Tyler Perry, who famously provided a home for the couple in 2020, has reportedly limited communication. The Jordan scandal, where Meghan was seen attempting to mimic the late Princess Diana's humanitarian poses for commercial content, was described by A-list PR firms as creative bankruptcy. The collapse of the Sussex media empire was finalized, with emergency board meetings at Netflix and Spotify. By 12 p.m. GMT, insiders confirmed that the remaining production deals have been terminated with cause. Failure of brand deliverables. The streaming giants signed a duchess, but they are now left with an individual barred from using royal imagery, royal titles, or even the royal names of her children. Reputational drag. The Netflix memo cited inadequate audience retention and reputational drag as the primary reasons for shelving the Mother of Grace audio memoir and the Sussex Kitchen docuseries. The memo's most clinical line: "We do not fund private individuals engaged in active hostilities against a G7 sovereign." The cultural death knell for Meghan's brand was sounded not by a court, but by the mockery of her peers. Ryan Reynolds' viral post regarding staged international tours has shifted the public perception of Meghan from a victim of a cold institution to a commercial opportunist in decline. In the high-stakes world of Hollywood, being hated is manageable. Being a punchline is fatal. Meghan Markle's reliance on the royal shield to maintain her elite status has proven to be her greatest strategic error. As the palace legal team noted during the settlement briefing, Meghan Markle built an empire on a lease she could not afford to renew. On the 1st of March 2026, that lease expired, leaving her with a mounting debt of $134,000, a foreclosing mansion, and the deafening silence of a Hollywood that has moved on to the next authentic story. One of the most calculated elements of Meghan Markle's global branding strategy, the deliberate mirroring of the late Diana, Princess of Wales, has officially collapsed under the weight of the March 1st divorce decree. For 6 years, Meghan utilized visual cues, humanitarian stunts, and a narrative of institutional persecution to position herself as the modern successor to Diana's legacy. However, the 94-page settlement has systematically severed every legal and symbolic link between Meghan and the People's Princess, leaving the Duchess of Sussex socially and historically isolated. The divorce marks the definitive end of Meghan's legal status as a member of the Spencer-Windsor lineage. While she previously leaned on her marriage to Harry to claim a shared trauma with Diana, the palace has now enforced a strict narrative decoupling. Legal disconnection. As of February 28, Meghan Markle is no longer the daughter-in-law of Diana in any official capacity. The palace has issued a directive stating that any future references to Diana in Meghan's commercial or media projects will be met with a cease and desist from the Spencer family's legal representatives, coordinated by Earl Spencer and Prince William. The Catch-Cum grotesque staging in Jordan. The turning point in public perception was the mid-February visit to a refugee camp in Jordan. Meghan was photographed in an outfit nearly identical to Diana's famous 1997 landmine field appearance, attempting to mimic the same stoic, compassionate gaze. Global media outlets, including The Washington Post and The Telegraph, described the staging as Catch-Cum, a desperate and hollow imitation rather than a genuine tribute. The loss of the jewelry trove. A specific annex in the divorce settlement requires the immediate return of all heirlooms and loans from the late Princess Diana's personal collection that were granted to Meghan during her tenure as a working royal. This includes several iconic pieces Meghan had frequently worn to signal her link to the late princess. While Meghan's Diana Light brand is in terminal decline, the Princess of Wales, Catherine, has emerged as the undisputed guardian of the monarchy's moral future. The Anne William doctrine has positioned Catherine not just as a royal wife, but as a sovereign protector, the symbolic shield. On March 1, Catherine appeared at a national event in a navy coat featuring a rose gold shield brooch, the protection protocol symbol. This appearance contrasted sharply with Meghan's luxury-branded refugee visit. Catherine's approval rating, now at 84%, reflects a public that prefers duty over drama. The institutional barrier. Meghan is now permanently barred from the most vital source of her brand's fuel, the Buckingham Palace balcony. She will no longer be invited to Trooping the Colour, state funerals, or coronations. Without the Gold State Coach imagery to sustain her, Meghan is effectively a private American citizen with a famous ex-husband, stripped of the royal backdrop that made her commercially viable. The most damaging blow to Meghan's Diana-esque persona came from the cultural elite she desperately tried to join. Ryan Reynolds' recent social media post, poking fun at self-staged international tours for supplement sales, has stripped the victim status from Meghan's narrative. Mockery versus sympathy. For years, Meghan relied on the victim of the British press narrative to garner American sympathy. However, the Jordan scandal proved she was an active director of her own staged drama. Hollywood and the American public have shifted from sympathy to satire. The Washington Post analysis. An editorial published this morning noted, Meghan Markle tried to build a brand on a tragedy she didn't own. On the 1st of March 2026, the crown reclaimed its ghosts. Meghan is left with the costumes, but no stage. The Hochthweit Kiluat, disciplinary doctrine, of King Charles III ensures that Meghan Markle will never again be mentioned in official royal communications. The palace has adopted a policy of total silence. No defenses. The Royal Press Office will no longer correct negative stories or protect Meghan's reputation. She is on her own in the brutal 2-4-hour news cycle. No reconciliation. The olive branch that Charles once extended has been retracted. The king has shifted from soft-hearted father to constitutional guardian. By the evening of March 1, the reality is stark. Meghan Markle has lost her home, her children's custodial control, her financial backing, and her Diana mask. She is no longer the rebel princess fighting an institution. She is an individual facing a $134,000 tax bill and a foreclosed future. As Prince William reportedly noted to his inner circle, the crown does not compete with celebrities, it outlasts them. As the second day of the post-divorce era begins, the full weight of King Charles III's disciplinary doctrine, Hochthweit Kilut, has descended upon Meghan Markle. For years, the king was portrayed and acted as a soft-hearted father, Ngui Cha Mem Long, a monarch who hesitated to strike at his youngest son for fear of permanent estrangement. However, the February 2026 Jordanian coercion incident was the final catalyst that transformed the sovereign into a resolute monarch, Quan Chu Kung Quit. By March 1, 12 GMT, the palace has confirmed a total administrative lockdown of Meghan Markle's international and domestic reach. The primary focus of the disciplinary doctrine is the total eradication of the faux royal tour. Meghan Markle's strategy relied on the ambiguity of her status, using the title of Duchess to secure state-level hospitality in countries like Jordan, Nigeria, or Colombia, while simultaneously claiming to be a private citizen for commercial tax purposes. The Foreign Office Directive. Under the King's direct order, the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO, has issued a red alert to all British embassies and high commissions. The directive explicitly forbids any British diplomatic post from facilitating, hosting, or providing security for Meghan Markle. The Jordan Standard. King Abdullah II's decision to ignore Harry and Meghan during their February stay has been codified into a global royal protocol. The message to the world's leaders is clear. Engagement with Meghan Markle is not an engagement with the British crown. It is an engagement with a private celebrity in decline. The loss of official air. Meghan will no longer be provided with sovereign air or RAF transport. Any future international travel must be conducted via commercial airlines, without the benefit of the royal VIP fast-track security or diplomatic immunity. While Meghan Markle claimed financial independence in 2020, the Dossier revealed that significant shadow subsidies, including legal fee deferrals and specific security intelligence shares, were still being extended to the Sussexes under the guise of family support. Immediate cessation of funding. King Charles has signed an executive order terminating every residual cent of royal funding. The Duchy of Cornwall's support, which Harry had attempted to negotiate as a child support loophole, has been redirected entirely into the Royal Matrons Welfare Fund for Archie and Lilibet, managed by Princess Catherine and Duchess Sophie, the Montecito tax lien, and the $134,000. Crisis. With the Bank of Dad officially closed and Harry's assets frozen behind the Windsor blockade, Meghan has been left to face her mounting California debts alone. Her $134,000 property tax delinquency is only the beginning. The palace has refused to act as a guarantor for her refinancing attempts, leading to a panic state among her remaining Hollywood business managers. The media blackout. The disciplinary doctrine includes a no-correction policy. In the past, the palace might have quietly nudged journalists to soften a story about the Sussexes to avoid embarrassment. Now, the palace has adopted a stance of benign indifference. They will allow the media to dissect Meghan's financial collapse without interference. The sovereign iron fist has had an immediate chilling effect on the U.S. corporate world. Netflix and Spotify executives, who once saw Meghan as a gold standard of royal proximity, are now in a state of commercial retreat. The Netflix emergency meeting. Sources from the Netflix Los Angeles headquarters report that a Sussex audit was conducted this morning. The conclusion was clinical. Meghan Markle is no longer a royal asset. She is a legal liability. The Sussex Kitchen Project and her proposed lifestyle documentaries have been formally shelved due to the administrative blacklist, preventing any authentic royal footage or locations. The Ryan Reynolds satire effect. When Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, mocked the stage tours for supplements, he signaled to the world that Meghan is no longer protected by the halo of royalty. She has become fair game for the brutal satire of Hollywood. In a town that lives and dies by perceived power, Meghan's loss of the king's favor is a terminal diagnosis for her brand. The most stinging part of the March 1st reality is the permanence of the king's decision. Charles has made it clear that the 28th of February was the deadline for honorable reconciliation. By choosing to weaponize the children's education funds and stage the Jordan humanitarian show, Meghan crossed a line that the king and the British people will not allow her to walk back. Meghan Markle, once hailed as a breath of fresh air, is now facing the brutal reality of the Windsor firewall. She is an individual without an institution, a duchess without a duchy, and a mother without custodial control. The Hawkthwaite Key loot is not just about punishment. It is about the total institutional erasure of Meghan Markle from the history and future of the British monarchy. As she prepares her interview of last resort, she does so from a position of profound $134,000 deep weakness. As the sun sets on the first full day of Meghan Markle's post-royal existence, the global media landscape is bracing for what insiders call the interview of last resort. Faced with a $134,000 tax delinquency, the foreclosure of her Montecito estate, and the total revocation of her royal status, Meghan Markle is reportedly preparing a final tell-all to salvage her plummeting brand. However, unlike the 2021 Oprah sit-down, the March 2026 climate is one of profound skepticism and institutional hostility. The Sussex empire, built on the shifting sands of celebrity victimhood and royal proximity, has officially reached its terminal point. Reports from Santa Barbara indicate that Meghan's PR team has reached out to major networks, including a potential emergency special with a prominent U.S. broadcaster. But the landscape has shifted fundamentally. The reputational drag factor. Network executives at CBS and ABC have reportedly expressed hesitation. The Jordan fiasco, specifically the clinical and dossier detailing the misappropriation of her children's education funds, has made Meghan a high-risk interviewee. The $134,000 shadow. Every word Meghan utters in her upcoming defense will be scrutinized against the backdrop of her financial desperation. The victim narrative no longer resonates when the primary victim is identified as the Crown's youngest heirs, whose trust funds were allegedly liquidated to pay for Hollywood publicists. The legal muzzle. The 9-4-page settlement includes a non-disparagement clause of unprecedented legal strength. Any claim Meghan makes against the King, Prince William, or Princess Catherine will trigger an immediate sovereign lawsuit in the California Superior Court, potentially bankrupting her remaining assets within 48 hours. The cultural shift against Meghan Markle was solidified today by the Deadpool effect. Ryan Reynolds' satirical take on staged international tours for supplement sales has permeated the Hollywood consciousness. For the first time, Meghan is being mocked by the A-list she once desperately sought to lead. The Variety obituary. Variety magazine published a digital cover story this evening titled "The Final Act of the Sussex Drama: How the Crown Outmaneuvered the Camera." The article highlights that Meghan's commercial value has dropped by 92% since the Jordan incident. The safe distance from Oprah and Tyler Perry. The silence of Meghan's former protectors is deafening. Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry have reportedly adopted a safe distance policy to avoid being associated with a brand that has been officially blacklisted by a G7 sovereign. The faux royal label. The American public, once sympathetic to the rebel Duchess, has largely adopted the faux royal label. The hashtag #NotMyDuchess has trended across North America, signaling that Meghan's identity currency has been devalued beyond repair. While Meghan Markle faces a foreclosed future, the British monarchy has emerged from the Sussex era stronger and more unified. The Hoc Thuit Kiluit disciplinary doctrine of King Charles III, executed by Princess Anne and Prince William, has proven that an ancient institution can effectively neutralize modern celebrity branding. The Windsor firewall. The palace has successfully reclaimed Archie and Lilibet, ensuring they are raised as Windsors rather than Sussex brand assets. The appointment of Princess Catherine and Duchess Sophie as the royal matrons has been met with a 73% public approval rating in the UK. The sovereign victory. King Charles III has moved from the soft-hearted father to the resolute monarch. His decision to prioritize the dignity of the crown over personal sentiment has finalized the Windsor reset. The 28th of February 2026 will be remembered as the day the monarchy proved it could outlast the celebrity. The divorce settlement is more than a legal document, it is an institutional erasure. Meghan Markle is now physically isolated, barred from Frogmore Cottage and the royal balconies. Financially strangled, facing $134,000 in immediate debt and a collapsing media pipeline. Legally bound, forbidden from commercializing her children or her royal past. Socially ostracized, a private citizen in Hollywood that has moved on to the next authentic story. As the night falls on the 1st of March 2026, the story of the Sussexes is no longer about a family rift. It is about the total failure of a brand to defeat a crown. Meghan Markle's interview of last resort may happen, but it will be the desperate gasp of a collapsing empire. The king has won, the royal matrons have secured the future, and the Shadow Royal tour is dead. Meghan Markle, once the modernizing hope of the monarchy, now stands alone in a foreclosing mansion, staring at a $134,000 tax bill and a world that no longer believes in her fairy tale. The Windsor blockade is absolute. The era of the Shadow Royal is over. The crown holds.